When I lost my husband and the world turned its back, a kind rancher's gift changed everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun shone brightly, mocking my darkness. I sat on that old porch, heart shattered, listening to the whispers of an empty house, each silence like a knife in my chest. I could feel the weight of the world pressing down on me, suffocating me in sorrow. Nathan had been my rock, my laughter, my light. And then, just like that, he was gone. I still remember the day the doctors delivered the news, their voices distant and hollow, every word echoing in my mind like a cruel melody. My hands trembled as I gripped the crumpled paper with his name scribbled in black ink. One moment full of life, the next, just a whisper in the wind. I felt invisible, like cries for help wrapped around barbed wire. Days turned into weeks. I wandered the same streets where once we danced, arms around each other, voices blending into laughter. Now, whispers filled the air, people casting furtive glances, their pity dripping through the cracks of my broken heart. They spoke of me in hushed tones, as though I was marked by tragedy, as though I was cursed. My friends faded, one by one, drifting away like autumn leaves caught in a gust. Each absence was a wound, deepening with time. That's when I met Jake, a rancher with kind eyes and a worn-out hat that had seen better days. He was unlike anyone I had ever known. His hands were rough, calloused from years of hard work, and yet they held a softness, a gentleness, that wrapped around my pain like a warm embrace. He didn't look at me like I was broken. Instead, he saw a spark beneath the Ashisa flicker of hope waiting to be reignited. Jake brought me gifts from the ranch, fresh milk, warm bread, and tales of the land that seemed alive with a secret energy. Each visit felt surreal, like a dream I was frightened to wake up from. That first day, as he handed me a basket overflowing with vibrant vegetables, my heart skipped a beat. Could this be my salvation? I was drawn in by the secrets buried in his stories. Tales of hidden springs and ancient trees that whispered to the wind, hoping to reveal their magic. The world outside grew louder, but amid that chaos, quiet began to weave through my life like a soothing balm. I found solace in the rhythm of the ranch, the horses galloping, their hooves carving out a melody I never knew I needed. Yet, as I stood at the fence, the sun setting in a blaze of orange, I sensed a storm brewing. There was something deeper to Jake, a hidden sorrow that mirrored my own. What lay beneath that warm smile? I felt a pull, a curiosity that begged me to dig deeper. Why was he drawn to me? What haunted him when the sun dipped below the hills? The questions hung in the air like a charged silence, trembling with possibility. Something was about to change. But what? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The days grew shorter as autumn settled over the landscape, wrapping the horizon in shades of gold and rust. The air, crisp and biting, entered my lungs like a forgotten promise of renewal. Yet, even within this beauty, there was a heaviness that lingered. Each rustle of leaves and echo of fading laughter reminded me of what I had lost. The tenderness I felt during Jake's visits was a fleeting escape, a fleeting moment of warmth dulled by the chill of reality. On an overcast afternoon, Jake arrived with a somber look etched across his face. The sky mirrored his expression, draping a thick blanket of clouds. He handed me a jar of honey, golden and glimmering, but his gaze betrayed worry. I heard some troubling news today, he said, hesitating as if the words weighed like stones. I felt my heart clench. Unspoken fears crept in, lurking just beneath the surface of my already ragged emotions. What happened? My voice trembled, and I took a step closer, desperate for connection, for understanding. It's my brother, he began, his rough hands tightening around the jar. He's been sick for a while, but the doctors finally caught up with him today. They say he might not make it through the winter. A shared silence hung between us, heavy with his grief. I felt a familiar pang of sorrow, the kind that swells in your chest when someone you love is in pain. I didn't yet know how to comfort him, though I longed to take the burden from his shoulders. "I'm so sorry," I finally whispered, stepping forward to offer a tentative embrace. The warmth of his body against mine brought a flicker of hope even amidst despair. His breath was shaky as he returned the hug, and I could feel a storm brewing behind his soft exterior in anguish that resonated with my own feelings of loss. "I thought I could handle it," he admitted, the words spilling out like secrets too heavy to keep. "Being strong for everyone else," but his voice cracked. "I don't know how to be there for him when I'm falling apart too." Suddenly, I wasn't just the broken woman he came to comfort. I became a mirror reflecting his own cracks, our vulnerabilities overlapping in unexpected ways. "You don't have to be strong all the time, Jake," I said softly. "Sometimes we need someone to lean on, just like you've been there for me." His eyes searched mine, seeking reassurance, and in that moment, the weight of my own heartbreak felt lighter shared, divided. We stood there, two souls entwined by loss, fragile yet resilient in the imperfect branches of our shared life stories. When he finally pulled back, the heaviness remained but felt more bearable. He set the honey jar down and, with an unexpected kindness, took my hand gently. "Thank you for listening. I don't often let people in," he admitted, his voice low. That evening, as we spoke of his brother and shared our heartaches, laughter weaved through our sorrow. Moments of joyful connection became woven into the fabric of our conversations, shadows flickering but never fully extinguishing. As night fell and the stars began to peek through the cloudy sky, I felt a new bond forming between us. But there was still a haunting sense of foreboding that lingered in the air. My own tumultuous feelings about Nathan's death surged once more, mingling with the quiet terror of what lay ahead for Jake's brother. We were both standing on the edge of a great unknown. Just as I began to breathe a little easier, a loud crash resonated from the barn lights flickered, fading in and out like a flickering heartbeat, sending my pulse racing. Jake's expression shifted from contemplative to alarmed. "Stay here," he shouted, racing toward the source of the sound. Panic gripped my chest as I remained rooted to the spot, my thoughts spiraling. What if something had gone wrong? What if the world had come to collect its debts once again? Then, a scream reverberated through the air, a voice I recognized, shrill and full of fear, reverberated off the walls of my heart. "Jake," my breath caught. I didn't know what awaited in the barn, but I knew I couldn't remain a passive spectator in this unfolding storm. Clenching my fists, I dashed after him, heart pounding, determination igniting within me. As I reached the door, shadows danced wildly against the dim light inside. The scene that greeted me shattered any illusions of safety I had clung to. Jake stood at the center, panic etched on his face, surrounded by the chaos of fallen hay and muted cries that "Is he okay?" I called out, my voice nearly drowning in the cacophony. But the only thing that registered was what lay beyond Jake's stunned form. A figure on the ground, familiar yet disoriented, coupled with a realization that struck like lightning. The truth carved itself deep within me. Here amidst the darkness stood not only the storm of uncertainty, but a fragile, fateful twist. A person I hadn't anticipated. A blast from an echoed past that it was Ethan, my late husband's brother, witnessing our connected grief and now living proof that some bonds could never truly sever. And as my heart crumpled, something not only shattered within me, but hope emerged hesitantly in the darkness. Could he also be a bridge to healing? But would I ever be able to reckon with the tangled past that stared back at me? The barn was filled with a thick haze of fear and surprise, blurring the edges of reality around Ethan's fragile form. My pulse quickened as I fought against the wave of unresolved emotions that churned violently within me. Ethan, the ghost of my past, lay bruised and disoriented at the heart of my present chaos. The last time I had seen him, it had felt like shards of broken glass, too painful to hold on to. "Ethan," I breathed, moving closer while skirting the remnants of scattered hay and debris. Jake's expression morphed from panic to a muted confusion, caught in the midst of two worlds struggling to converge. "Call 911, he managed, his voice strained, yet the concern for me remained visible, his protective instinct ignited despite the turmoil. But my gaze was locked on Ethan, a kaleidoscope of memories flooding my mind. the laughter shared, the nights spent by the fire making dreams seem limitless, and then the slow, painful motion of watching those dreams fray into nothingness after Nathan's departure. The weight of grief hung heavily upon my chest, propelling me forward into the space between us. "Are you okay?" I asked Ethan, my voice breaking as I crouched next to him, my hands trembling against the reality of his presence. His face was pale, those familiar features marred by the shadows of his recent journey that he blinked, recognition dawning but overshadowed by confusion. "Am I back?" His voice was hoarse, passing through cracked lips, and the lingering disbelief in his eyes spun an unsettling thread of anxiety. "We need to get you help," I replied, battling against memories of happier times. "How could he be here now? What happened?" Ethan shook his head, wincing with the motion. "There was an accident. I don't remember much. I was trying to get to you." My heart ached at hearing him utter those words. Everything I had tucked away, regret, guilt, longing, rose up, swirling around the remnants of what once was. "Ethan, you didn't have to come here. Too don't know if I can be what you need." I stumbled over the words, fear clawing at my throat, that Jake's hand gripped my shoulder, grounding me. "You're not alone," he murmured, squeezing gently, his presence offering a thread of hope against the currents of despair that threatened to crash over me. I turned to him, lost yet buoyed by his support. "I don't know if I can face this, Jake," I whispered, fear and vulnerability spilling into the cracks of my composure. "Just breathe," he encouraged, never breaking his gaze from mine. "You're stronger than you know. We'll face this together." In that moment, I felt the delicate stitching of our shared struggles tighten, as if fully aware that our connection had solidified against a backdrop of sorrow and uncertainty. I willed myself to find a way forward. "Ethan," I said, returning my attention to him, "you need to tell me the truth. Why did you come back now?" His breath came in shallow gasps, but the resolve in his gaze pierced through the veil of confusion. "I thought after everything you'd want to know. I was trying to find a way to make sense of it all." The words hung heavily in the air. Anguish flickered across his face, mingling with the hope that had become twisted by too many unanswered questions. What truth lay hidden within those words? Suddenly, the sound of sirens wailed through the night, piercing the fragile space we had created. I felt a rush of anxiety seep into the open wounds between us, but as the light from flashing blue and red enveloped the barn, illuminating shadows that felt treacherous, I also felt the warmth of possibility budding amidst the dread. Ethan shifted on the ground, pain mingling with an emotion I couldn't quite decipher. "I need you to understand something," he said, his voice frail yet firm. "I'm not here to disrupt what's been built." Stop. The word escaped from my lips before I could catch it. I took a shaky breath, the weight of his presence stirring remnants of my old life, pushing against fresh wounds. I wasn't prepared to delve into the mess that entwined our pasts. Nathan's absence, Jake's budding support, and Ethan's silent battle crawled into focus, and as the paramedics burst through the doors of the barn, I realized the connection among us three might be thicker than blood, rooted in shared grief and the pursuit of healing. But an unsettling surge of dread crept alongside the flickering hope, the fear of what lay ahead, of inevitable choices that would echo long after the sirens faded. Caught in the turmoil of unspoken possibilities and unrelenting shadows, I turned to Jake, and the crisis in Ethan's eyes pressed against the walls of my heart. The world as I knew it threatened to shift once again, and I was poised on a precipice with no clear end in sight. The change was coming. Might it tear us apart or weave us into something new? As the paramedics reached Ethan, I knew that the answers I sought remained defined in the spaces between breaths, glimmering just out of reach, shadowed by the fear of what might come next. The storm raged still, and with every pulse of fate's unpredictable fabric, clarity remained agonizingly elusive. The cacophony of bustling paramedics filled the barn, their movements sharp and focused, a stark contrast to the stillness clinging to me. I stood aside, a voyeur in my own life, as they assessed Ethan's injuries, the rush of efficiency attempting to stabilize a reality that felt anything but. Each cry of urgency echoed in the hollow chambers of my heart, magnifying the turmoil within. Jake remained close, his presence a comforting anchor amidst the chaos. I could feel the heat emanating from him, a solidity that grounded me in a sea of uncertainty. Yet the pull of the past intertwined with my every thought, the shadows of memories creating a haunting backdrop to the present. There was a part of me that wanted to reach out and grasp Ethan's hand, to reassure him that everything would be okay. But would it? Ethan, I found myself whispering, though I couldn't bring myself to step any closer. The paramedics worked swiftly, their hands moving in efficient motions that felt almost surgical. You need to hold on, I urged, despite the twisted knot of emotions unfurling in my stomach. The way his eyes searched for something he thought I might offer shattered the pieces of my facade. His voice was barely above a whisper. Tell me you still care. I need to know you're still there. His gaze bore into me, piercing through the haze like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. I felt the breath hitch in my throat, as if my soul had caught fire at his words. Ethan, I suddenly. The barn door swung wide, revealing a figure that seemed to emerge straight from a dream made real. The silhouette of a woman stood framed against the night, bathed in the glow of moonlight. It was not just a stranger. It was Annabelle, the rancher known for her unwavering kindness and the whispers of her own tragic past. What happened here? She asked, her voice rich with genuine concern. Her eyes scanned the scene, the familiarity of sorrow etched into her features. One of the paramedics turned to Annabelle, responding with a calmness that felt both reassuring and jarring. Just a minor accident, but he's stable for now. We'll take him to the hospital. As they lifted Ethan onto the stretcher, I felt a swell of raw emotion surge within me. This wasn't just about Ethan anymore. This was about healing wounds that ran deeper than the surface. In an unexpected move, Annabelle stepped forward, her eyes steady. They'll follow you. My car is nearby. Wait, I called out, a surge of panic clawing at my chest. What do you mean? You can't just. She turned to me, her expression a mix of urgency and understanding. You need to be there too. You need to allow yourself to feel everything you've tried to suppress. Is not the only one who needs healing. Stunned, I looked between Jake and Annabelle, who both mirrored my confusion and heartache. I realized I had been so focused on Ethan's return and the chaos it wrought that I had forgotten my own journey. I was still grieving Nathan, still trying to stitch together the shreds of a life that felt foreign, and the reminder of Ethan's presence had only heightened the depths of my unresolved pain. Jake stepped closer, his warm hand entwining with mine. Let's go, he urged gently. You don't have to do this alone. One simple offer of solidarity sent a shudder through my body. With a deep breath, I glanced at Ethan, his eyes fluttering closed, seemingly caught between memories of the past and the uncertainty of what awaited him. Our history felt like a weight, suffocating and yet liberating at the same time. As we drove through the winding roads, the night cloaked us in shadows, each twist and turn reflecting the labyrinth of our emotions. Jake's quiet reassurance filled the space, whispering of hope and strength. But as the hospital loomed closer, so did the unmistakable reality of what lay ahead. An unearthing of buried truths and unspoken fears. In the sterile glow of the hospital lights, Annabelle guided us through the bustling hallways. We arrived in a waiting room confined by muted colors and the distant hum of murmured conversations. The processing of emotions was only beginning, and uncertainty wrapped around us like a suffocating blanket. I can't believe this is happening again, I murmured, my voice shaky. The panic, the fear, the swirling mess of emotions seeping forth from every pore. Breathe, Jake encouraged, his hand still holding mine as if offering an unbreakable tether. Annabelle shifted closer, a presence of heartfelt empathy. Just as I was beginning to find a fragile sense of calm, the doors to the ward burst open. A doctor emerged, tense and somber. My heart plummeted into the chasm of dread. Who is here for Ethan? He called, scanning the room, eyes filled with intensity. A storm brewing just beneath the surface. I rose to meet him. A silent prayer lingered on my lips. I was caught at the edge of my fears, teetering on the brink of heartbreak and uncertainty. Would I have to bear witness to another loss? And in that moment, just as my world felt as though it was spiraling out of control, something shifted. The doctor, standing before me, hesitated momentarily, a troubled look crossing his face that ignited a rising fear. The truth was an unexpected companion, but I was not ready to confront it. That unsettling silence held a million voices, all echoing with one undeniable truth. Our lives had changed irreversibly, and what lay ahead was a fragile tapestry woven with pain, grace, and the kind of hope that lingers at the very edges of despair. As the doctor stood there, his eyes flickering between forms of compassion and the harsh reality etched in his features, I felt the room close around me. I swallowed hard, searching for words lodged deep in my throat. My mind was a battlefield, racing through a kaleidoscope of memories tied to Ethan. Laughter over bonfires, stolen glances during sunsets, and the bitter sweetness of our last goodbye. Ethan's injuries are serious, the doctor said, breaking through the haze that enveloped me. We're working to stabilize him, but we need to consider all options moving forward. Options? I echoed, my voice barely a whisper. Jake tightened his grip on my hand, anchoring me as the air around us turned electric with tension. Look, the doctor's voice softened, and I could see he understood the gravity of his words. Ethan suffered a traumatic head injury. He might require surgery. It's crucial that you think about what he would want. His words hit me like a sledgehammer, shattering whatever fragments of composure I had managed to hold. Images of Ethan, strong and vibrant, flashed before my eyes. I suddenly felt the weight of his absence pressing around me, a crushing reminder of what it meant to love someone so deeply while teetering on the edge of loss. In that moment, my heartbeat rang in my ears, each thud a reminder of life continuing around me even as I felt frozen in place. What does he want? I whispered, half to myself and half to Jake. I searched for answers I feared might never come. Annabelle stepped closer, her presence radiating assurance. He wants hope, just like we all do, she said, her voice steady like the firm ground beneath my feet. You know that. Let him fight. Though I wanted to cling to that thought, doubts clawed at the edges of my mind. How could I ask him to fight through the pain I had inflicted on him? Our past was a woven tapestry of love stained with the shadows of my own guilt. Ethan deserves a chance, Jake added softly, his eyes searching mine, urging me to embrace the flickering spark of hope thrumming in the room. And so do you. We all need to be strong right now. I nodded, feeling how his words ignited a flicker of determination within me. Jake had always been that ember. Yet, the reality before me was terrifying, making choices that might dictate Ethan's future. Our lives hung by a thread, and the thought made my stomach churn. The doctor cleared his throat, snapping me back to the conversation. We need an answer soon. We won't stop working on him, but we need you to decide how we proceed. I focused on him, willing my emotions to align with clarity. What if I can't decide? What if I don't know what he wants? In that instantaneous moment of vulnerability, I felt as if I was peeling away the layers that had shielded my heart from the truth. The weight of guilt, the remnants of selfishness, everything I had pushed aside, surged to the forefront. Sometimes, Annabelle interjected gently, you have to trust that they know you care. That love is enough, even if it's complicated. Her words reined in some of the chaos swirling within me. She knew. She understood the raw emotions, the complexities of love laden with grief, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of kinship with her. As time ticked forward, the air in the waiting room grew thicker. My heart raced, each beat underscoring the urgency of Ethan's situation. A heart that had once skipped in bliss now pulsed with fear, grief, and an almost paralyzing indecision. When a nurse slipped into the room, I felt the anxiousness swell anew. Can we see him? I asked, my voice a mixture of anticipation and dread. The nurse looked at me with empathetic eyes, pausing just long enough to let the moment solidify. You can, but it will be a while before we can fully assess his condition. His consciousness fluctuates. Just as I nodded, preparing to brace myself for whatever lay beyond those doors, a sharp sound reverberated through the hall. It was a cry, one of anguish, of heartbreak, and it twisted something in my gut. What was that? I turned to the nurse, impatience clawing at my throat. Just a family. It happens often, she replied, and I could see the layers of unshed tears in her eyes. The weight of sadness hung palpably in the air, each person within this space bound together by their individual pain. That I took a deep breath, feeling tiny ripples of sorrow intertwine within me. There was no way to escape the grief that lingered, and it intertwined with a newfound determination to face whatever truths awaited. But as the moments stretched into what felt like an eternity, An unexpected twist pulled the ground beneath me. Once more the waiting room door swung open suddenly, and a tall man stepped through, his expression one of frazzled desperation. He caught my gaze, and recognition flared. I'd seen him before, in fleeting moments of face tied to a memory of days when laughter was abundant, when life felt immutable. "Are you here for Ethan?" he asked breathlessly, urgency lacing his tone. That my heart raced not just for the implications of his arrival, but for the memories he evoked. Memories tied to moments long past, moments I had fought hard to bury. "Yes," I breathed, feeling a weight solidify in the air between us. And in that moment, I stood on the precipice of another revelation that could shatter the delicate threads holding our collective pain. A tangled web of past and present threatened to unravel once more, and I braced myself, knowing that how I responded could change everything we thought we understood. The room seemed to freeze as the man's words hung in the air, filled with an unsettling tension. My heart, already racing, now drummed an erratic beat that echoed my apprehension. It was as if time itself threatened to unravel in that moment, the seams of my reality beginning to fray. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, disbelief mingling with desperation. The familiarity of his presence felt like a ghost, one I wished I could dismiss, but didn't know how. He took a step closer, his eyes lingering on mine, filled with an urgency I could no longer ignore. "I'm Noah, a friend from Ethan's past. I believe there's something you need to know." The name struck me like a bell tolling, awakening fragments of memories I had shunned. Noah had been a part of Ethan's world long before I had entered it, a reminder of the history I struggled to understand. The laughter and camaraderie they had shared in their reckless youth faded in and out of focus as I strived to reconcile this man with the man I loved. "Why are you here?" I asked, the vulnerability slipping from my voice. He hesitated, glancing around us, perhaps searching for signs of unease among the onlookers in the waiting room. "I know this is hard for you. I've been trying to find Ethan for so long. After the accident, I felt it was important to be here now, to support him, to support you." My instincts screamed at me to retreat, to pull within the protective barriers I had so carefully constructed. But another part of me, a more honest part, tipped the balance toward opening up. "What did Noah know about Ethan that I didn't?" "What do you mean, support?" I prodded, watching as a vision of the past swirled before me, filled with laughter and youthful ambitions. Before he could respond, a wave of commotion brushed through the room as another family, clearly overwhelmed, burst through the door. It felt like a cascade of heartache, the pain in the room multiplying with every person who joined our circle of uncertainty. Noah stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Ethan has always been a fighter, but there are things he hasn't told you that could change how you see him, how you help him now." I felt the ground shift slightly beneath my feet. "What do you mean?" I whispered, anxiety creeping into my voice. I could visualize a chasm opening between the two of us, a question dangling that, if answered, could redefine everything I thought I knew about Ethan. "Before he met you, before I left." Noah's words caught in his throat, and I could see him wrestling with his own emotions. There were challenges he faced, regrets, things that made him who he is today, things he felt he had to hide from you. With every word spoken, a shroud of confusion settled over me. I could make out pieces of Ethan that I had tried to embrace, yet here stood a man who promised secrets cloaked in shadows. I found myself on the threshold of disbelief and a longing for understanding. "Why should I believe you?" I replied, my heart pounding, words tasting like ash. "Because," Noah said, his gaze fierce and earnest, "Ethan loves you. He fought hard to build a future with you. But if he's going to pull through this, knowing he can trust you and that you can carry the weight of his story is vital." At that moment, I felt a tremor of doubt dislodged deep within me, unearthed emotions roiling and wrestling for attention. Just when I thought my heart couldn't bear any more burdens, a realization crept in. Ethan was layered, beautiful, and flawed like all of us. I knew I loved him, but what did I really know about the man who had become my entire universe? "That's not fair," I whispered, feeling my defenses start to crumble. "You should have told me. Sometimes the past hurts too much to revisit," Noah said gently. "I think he was afraid of dragging you into battles he thought he had already won." My thoughts swirled in chaos as the weight of the world pressed in. I clutched my stomach, feeling as though I might be sick. Could it be possible that I had been so blinded by love that I had missed the truth hovering just beyond our connection? As the seconds evaporated around us, I felt a resurgence of determination. What if I could be that strength for Ethan? What if healing for both of us came from bearing our scars together? But just as I thought I had grasped a clearer understanding, a sudden crash echoed through the hall, drawing every eye to a flurry of rushing nurses and emergency personnel barreling through the double doors leading to Ethan's room. Voices escalated a flurry of "Get the crash cart," and "We need to stabilize him." That ominous dread closed in again, wrapping its icy fingers around my heart. "Ethan!" I screamed involuntarily, as panic surged through me, but the chaos drew a barrier between us, between my love and his uncertain fate. I felt Jake's reassuring grip on my shoulder, but it couldn't assuage the panic bubbling within. No. "Please," I pleaded, the world around me blurring as I pushed against the encroaching throng of fear and desperation. My only thought was reaching Ethan, to be by his side, to implore him to fight, to tell him I was there for whatever he needed. And then I felt Noah's hand on my arm, grounding yet powerful. "Wait." His voice emerged, steady amidst the storm. "There's still a chance. Trust in the love you both share. Trust that he needs you to be strong right now more than ever." And as I clung to those words, staring at the chaotic scene unfolding ahead, the ground beneath me felt once more solidified with that quiet flicker of hope. But deep inside, an unsettling feeling grew, a sense that this moment could open doors I never intended to walk through, and uncertainty hung heavy in the air, waiting to reveal whatever lay just beyond our understanding. The seconds stretched like taut strings as I stood, trembling between fear and hope, my heart pounding with an insistent rhythm. The frenetic activity beyond the waiting room walls echoed in my grim cacophony of urgency that threatened to drown me in despair. But just then, Noah's steady gaze anchored me to the reality of my own resolve. "Trust," I repeated, the word feeling precarious on my tongue, yet strangely reassuring. Ethan needed me to be strong. I swallowed hard. The taste of fear mingled with the bittersweet longing to understand him, the man who loved me fiercely amidst his struggles. I had to find a way to bridge the chasm that now yawned open between us, even if it meant wrestling with the truth that might hurt. "Please let me stay," I said to Noah, desperation lacing my voice. "I can't do this alone." He nodded, a flicker of understanding passing between us, and as I moved to one side, the chaos of the hallway spun around me like a storm that I was somehow caught in the eye of. The tension hung thick in the air, ghosts of uncertainty clamoring for my attention, yet all I could focus on was the thought of Ethan, his smile, his laughter, the quiet moments we'd shared in our own little bubble. I needed to cling to those memories for strength. In the face of it all, I found a quiet moment of grace. An elderly woman sitting across from me caught my eye. Her hands were clasped tightly in her lap, and in her gaze, I recognized profound empathy layered beneath her own silent struggle. When we locked eyes, she offered me a soft, reassuring smile that shone with kindness, as if she understood my turmoil on a visceral level. It was a fleeting but illuminating connection, grounding me against the whirlwind of my emotions. "What's happening?" I asked softly, my voice trembling as I spoke to her, the urgency creeping into my tone. "They work hard in there," she replied with a wisdom that cut through the unpredictability of the moment. "You take a moment to breathe. Trust that love can tether you both, even in the dark." Her words echoed in my mind. Love could keep us anchored while we faced the unknown sea of fear. Maybe I didn't have to carry the weight of this burden alone. The world outside seemed to recede as I steeled my mind, my determination blossoming in this unexpected exchange of strength. But doubt lingered still, a nagging whisper that questioned whether I could truly support him once the truths were laid bare. As the frantic energy faded, I felt an insatiable curiosity swell within me, a combination of love, fear, and the undeniable need to uncover Ethan's past, to understand the parts of him that had been hidden. "Oh, you know how I can reach him?" I murmured to Noah, a half-formed plan sparking in my mind. "He trusts me, but if he's fighting to come back, I want to be a part of that fight. I need to know how to help him through whatever storm he's facing." Noah looked down the corridor, his brow creased in thought, and I could see the weight of his own memories pressing upon him. "Ethan is a complicated man. But if he can't hear your voice, even if he's lost in his thoughts, sometimes love can pull a person back from the edge. A nurse emerged, pushing through the throngs with her clipboard held protectively against her chest. She had a calmness about her that momentarily disrupted the chaos. If you have family or friends in the waiting area, it might be a good time to gather them, she said, her voice a steady balm amidst the tension. My mind raced at her words. I didn't need others to prop me up. I needed to be the support for Ethan, but I could feel the weight of the world pressing against me. Everyone around me was filled with their own fears. It was a painful reminder that we were all in this together, yet separate, caught in the same web of grief and uncertainty. As family members filed in to console one another, my heart sank. I felt small, dwarfed by the enormity of the emotional landscape surrounding me. But I couldn't let myself break. Not now. Not when Ethan needed every last bit of strength we could muster. And then I heard Ida's voice tinged with urgency. Come quick. A physician called, rushing past with a team of nurses. A swirl of dread reclaimed its hold on my chest, and as if drawn to their intensity, I started to follow. What are they doing? I asked, panic threading through my voice. Noah's hand gripped my arm again. They're doing everything they can. You need to stay here and focus on what you can control. Ethan's love is waiting for you to be strong. But then the unexpected happened, an unmistakable sound, a low groan that pierced through the sterile chaos from within the room, as if it were a tether coming back to life. My heart skipped a beat, the raw emotion ricocheting through me. Ethan? It was a desperate whisper, the name threading through the A-I-R-I in that moment. As the metallic door swung wide, I locked eyes with the doctor, who bore an expression that told its own story, one of hope, yet still shrouded with the uncertainty of just how far Ethan would have to go to find his way back to me. I felt the ground shift again beneath me, confusion inexorably mingling with a wavering sense of optimism. Without my approval, my feet urged me forward, curiosity propelling me toward that doorway, and the shadows of doubt surged against my resolve. When I caught sight of the medical team working around Ethan, I knew then that the fight was far from over. Secrets hung in the air like the daunting questions that clouded my heart. What lay behind those doors? Were the truths woven into his history the very threads that could shatter the foundation of the love we'd built together? I hovered in that moment, teetering on the edge, and just as I wrestled with the obstacles within the revelations waiting to unravel, no one could have prepared me for what would happen next. An unexpected truth, concealed in the heart of darkness, that would change the course of my journey forever. The air hung heavy, the scent of antiseptic mingling with the faint, lingering traces of fear. My heart raced as I peered into the room, straining to see beyond the flurry of medical activity. Ethan lay there, still and unerringly fragile, the once vibrant spirit dulled under the harsh fluorescent lights. A cacophony of alarms beeped rhythmically, each sound digging deeper into the pit of my stomach. Ethan, I whispered, heartache latching onto every syllable. It was as if my voice, fragile and tender, sought him through the haze of white coats and frantic hands. I could see the rise and fall of his chest, a reminder that he was still fighting, that he was still here, somewhere beneath the surface. Then, from the corner of my vision, a figure stepped up next to me. It was Noah, his presence a shield against the uncertainty swirling in the air. You need to give them space, Brenna, he said gently, yet his voice was steady and unwavering, urging me to retreat. Even as my heart screamed to move closer, I felt my feet stubbornly rooted in place, my resolve a buoy against the storm raging inside. But what if he can hear me? He needs to feel that I'm here, I pleaded, my eyes darting back to Ethan's face. A fleeting moment of hope ignited in my chest as I thought of our conversations, of the small moments that forged our connection. He always came back to me in our darkest times. Noah sighed softly, his own memories flickering behind his concerned gaze. You're right. Love can reach even the broken parts of someone, but it may take more than you think. A knot tightened in my throat. I turned my attention back to Ethan, willing my heart to bridge the chasm that had grown between us. Ethan, please, I urged, my voice trembling with every word. I'm here, love. I believe in you. You can find your way back to me. I hoped that somehow my words would thread through the chaos, that they would seep into the depths of his being and lead him home. The bustling medical team continued their work, their intense focus a stark contrast to the urgency within my heart. I wanted nothing more than to pull him from this void, to shield him from whatever demons had laid claim to him. My thoughts raced, grappling with the unanswered questions that coiled around me like a vine. What had come before this moment? What truth did he bury beneath his bravado? Minutes felt like hours as I stood, navigating the sea of emotions swirling within. Then, in a moment that should have felt reassuring, I caught a glimpse of a woman searching for someone in the waiting room. Her face was creased with worry, and instinctively, I recognized that look of dread. "Is he your husband?" she asked softly, her voice a thread of connection amidst the tumult. I nodded, holding back the flood of emotions threatening to consume me. "His name is Ethan. He's fighting that. I wish I could say I'm sorry for your pain," she said, her words wrapped in sincere understanding. "My brother, he's in there too." The quiet bond formed in that moment, two souls tethered by the weight of love, loss, and uncertainty. "I know he's still in there, just like I know yours is, too." Her kindness washed over me like a soothing balm, igniting a flicker of hope. "Thank you. It helps to know I'm not alone in this fight." As she walked away, I felt that tiniest thread of connection linger, reminding me that even amidst chaos, empathy blossomed like wildflowers in the cracks of despair. I was not alone. Our struggles intertwined like roots searching for sustenance in barren soil. Just as that glimmer of warmth began to light my path, a commotion erupted within the room, a siren call of urgency that flung my heart to treacherous heights. "Something's wrong," shouted a nurse, and they surged forward, their collective effort a desperate dance against time. Panic gripped me again, slicing through the momentary burden of hope. "Ethan!" I screamed, the sound tearing from my throat as I fought against the impulse to push through the door. The emotion poured through me with a ferocity I didn't know I had. In that instant, clarity ripped through the fog. This was not just a fragile moment, it was a crucible. Then Noah was there, his hand enveloping mine. "You have to breathe, Brenna. Remember that love is a force. If his heart can hear you, it will fight." In those heavy seconds, a shattering realization struck me. I had been so focused on finding Ethanon, trying to rescue him from the storm, that I had lost sight of the ways I could still connect with him. Perhaps he needed a reminder of the love that had anchored him before, the moments that had woven our lives together. That I closed my eyes, recalling snippets of our life together as laughter, those shared sunsets that melted into night, the poetry of quiet mornings spent wrapped in each other's arms. "Ethan," I whispered, summoning every ounce of strength. "You're not alone. Remember us. We are still here. Come back to me." And then, the world shifted again. The cacophony of alarms sang out a new, fractured note, sound that resonated deep within me, stirring hope while pulling dread in its wake. My heart raced, a drum against despair, as I felt a sudden surge of clarity. Everything I had feared, everything I had prayed for, hanging in balance. The doctor stepped out, his expression unreadable. "We need to talk," he said tersely, a stark contrast to the warmth I desperately sought. My heart plunged, each beat drumming a warning. What lay before me was a crossroads I had yet to comprehend. Would the truths unveiled draw us closer together, or would they fracture the very love I clung to with desperate hands? The questions echoed in my mind, hauntingly vivid, as I prepared to confront whatever shadows awaited in the light of that moment. My hands trembled as I followed the doctor down the sterile corridor, the antiseptic air thickening with tension and unspoken words. Every step felt weighted, pulling me deeper into the unknown. Noah lingered behind, his presence a quiet reminder of the fragility of this moment. I wanted to turn back, to retreat into the safety of the waiting room, a false sanctuary where the truth wouldn't reach me. But I knew I had to face whatever lay ahead. "Wait here," the doctor instructed, stopping outside a nondescript door. It was as if the walls were closing in, compressing the air around me. The words sat uncomfortably on my tongue, but I forced them out. "What's happening with Ethan?" The doctor's expression softened for a fleeting second, revealing a glimpse of empathy beneath his professionalism. "We're trying our best, but complications have arisen. It's critical we assess the situation." Complications. The word echoed ominously, sending a shudder through my body. As he stepped inside, a whirlwind of panic swept over me. I leaned against the cool wall, my breath hitching in my throat. What did this mean? Would it be enough to tip the scales between hope and despair? Behind me, I felt a shift. Noah's hand settled on my shoulder, a grounding presence that anchored me even as my heart raced with uncertainty. You have to stay strong, Ethan needs you. Focus on love, he breathed softly, the sincerity in his eyes kindling my own flickering resolve that I swallowed, forcing myself to think of the moments when joy had anchored our lives, when laughter echoed in our tiny apartment, and his smile was the first light that illuminated my mornings. You're right. I don't know how to fight if I can't see him, I whispered. Noah nodded, understanding pouring from him in waves. Sometimes, it's about knowing that they're still fighting. We can't give up. To distract myself from the gnawing worry the doctor had sown, I turned my thoughts back to the woman from earlier who had shared a fleeting moment of connection. I wished I could see her again, to talk about our shared experiences, to find solace in each other's company. Just then, a flicker of movement at the edge of my vision caught my attention. It was the woman again, seated across the waiting area, her gaze lost in a world of her own despair. Compelled by empathy and the strong need to connect, I approached her. Hey, I began gently, unsure of how to broach this fragile space between us. Brenna, we spoke earlier? Her eyes shifted, surprised yet grateful, as if my presence was a lifeline tossed into turbulent waters. I remember. Sarah, she replied, her voice a mix of hope and sadness. It's nice to know I'm not the only one waiting for good news, that I find it heartening to share this space with someone who understands. Have you heard anything? I asked tentatively, wishing I could somehow lift the heaviness surrounding us both. She shook her head slowly, her gaze drifting back to the floor. No, just more waiting. I wish I could do something, anything, but I feel trapped here. The air between us was thick with shared grief, yet in that moment, I felt connected to hearts threading through a tapestry of uncertainty. Maybe we can help each other through this, I suggested, glancing at her with tentative reassurance. We can lean on one another until we can lean on our loved ones again. Her lips tilted into a small, grateful smile that held the warmth of understanding. I'd like that. Just as we began to share our stories off Ethan and her brother, of dreams and aspirations dashed by hospital walls, a sudden disturbance erupted. An alarm blared in the hallway, and chaos seemed to ripple through the waiting room like a thunderous wave. In an instant, people surged toward the door, concern etching faces as muted panic filled the air. My heart raced in sync with the beeping sirens, dread coiling within me. What's happening? I shouted to no one in particular. Noah rushed back alongside me, worry deepening the lines on his face. I don't know, but we need to find out. As the crowd thickened, I strained to see over the shifting bodies, but clarity eluded me amidst the noise. Then, like a bolt of lightning illuminating a dark sky, the doctor stepped back into view. His face, normally composed, bore a weight of anxiety that twisted knots of apprehension in my stomach. Brenna, he called, and time halted around me as he beckoned in my direction. I squeezed through the throng of anxious families and friends, my heart pounding as I reached him. What is it? I gasped, panic clawing at my throat. My apologies, the doctor said, his sharp tone contrasting the words themselves. But Ethan has taken a turn. We need you to calm us. Regaining consciousness, the surge of hope shot through me, invigorating my weary spirit, yet a punch of fear lingered at the edges of that hope. Is he going to be okay? I pressed, urgency coloring my voice. There are no guarantees, the doctor replied, a truth so stark it rendered my chest hollow. But we need you there. Noah's hand clasped mine tightly, as we were led toward the room once more, the shadows of uncertainty dancing around us. Each step felt monumental, as if the ground beneath had transformed into shifting sands. As we crossed the threshold, the terrifying duality of hope and dread consumed me, shaking the very fabric of my being. Ethan lay there, eyes fluttering, opino-weary light struggling to break free beneath layers of pain. His gaze met mine, a flicker of recognition igniting before darkened clouds obscured it. Brenna, he murmured, the sound fragile and hopeful as if he were still tethered to me by unseen threads. And then, in a moment that shattered the very core of my world, the door opened again, and in walked someone I never expected to see, a figure from our past, cloaked in shadows, with a dark revelation that could change everything. The atmosphere in the room shifted dramatically, a tsunami of emotions washing over me as the newcomer stepped into our fragile sanctuary. It was Marissa, my best friend, and the last person I had anticipated seeing. Her eyes flared with shock as they landed on me, and uncertainty coursed through the space like an electric current. I had not spoken to her since Nathan's death. The space between us had been thick with grief and the complexities of loss. But the moment I looked into her eyes, I felt that familiar warmth surge through me, a deep connection forged in laughter, tears, and unconditional support. "Brenna," she breathed, hesitating at the threshold before striding forward, her expression shifting from shock to concern as she caught sight of Ethan's frail figure. "What's happening?" I couldn't form the words. There was so much to say, so much pain cloaked in the shadows of our shared history. "Ethan, he's just come back," I stammered, emotions coiling in my throat like barbed wire. The air grew heavy as time stretched, marked by the slow rise and fall of Ethan's breath. As Marissa moved closer, I felt her gaze dart toward him, and suddenly the wounds I thought had begun to heal pricked at my heart. "I didn't know he was here," she said, her voice quaking with sincerity. "I've been so consumed with grief over Nathan. I wanted to be here for you, but I didn't know how." Ethan stirred at the sound of my name, his eyes searching for clarity, for the solace he found in my presence. A part of me wanted to retreat, to swallow the emotions spiraling like a storm, but I steeled myself, remembering the connection we shared amid the chaos. "Ethan," I whispered, leaning closer. "Can you hear me?" His gaze turned unfocused, yet I recognized the flicker of light in his eyes pulling him toward me. "Brenna," he croaked, each syllable heavy with the weight of his pain. The tenderness in his voice drew me closer, igniting a spark beneath the layers of uncertainty that cloaked me. I took his hand, cold and trembling, realizing the profound depth of our connection stretched beyond our individual fears. "We're in this together now," I said softly, holding his gaze. "You fought to find your way back, and I'm here, every step of the way. Do you remember?" I desperately wanted him to hold on to the memories, our memories, those golden threads holding us together in the intense darkness of uncertainty. His face contorted slightly, as if battling an unseen demon, and I caught a glimpse of vulnerability I had never witnessed before. "I remember feeling lost," he whispered, and my heart cracked open at the admission, that reminder of the shadows we had both faced. Marissa stepped back, momentarily lost in her own emotions, but the echo of our shared history created a cocoon around us, wrapping us in the fragile story of hope. "Brenna," she urged gently, "let him know you're here. It can be the light in his darkness that I am here," I repeated, squeezing Ethan's hand tighter. "I love you, and together, we can face whatever lies ahead." Suddenly, an unexpected clarity swept through my heart, slicing away layers of doubt that had anchored my spirit for so long. In that sacred moment, I became acutely aware of the resilience blossoming between us, the beauty of shared struggles as a pathway to healing not only for Ethan, but also for my own heart. "I don't want to burden you with my past," Ethan confessed, and I felt a pang of heartbreak resonate within me. But I understood then that burden sharing could heal wounds, weaving our lives into a tapestry of vulnerabilities, forgiveness, and acceptance. "That I want to share every piece of you," I asserted fiercely, the words rolling off my tongue with newfound conviction. "You've already shared so much of your heart with me. It's okay to share the parts that hurt too. We will navigate them together." His breath hitched, and I saw something flicker in his expression, an understanding that we could transcend the darkness, an invitation to stitch our lives together in ways that dipped into the past while reaching toward a shared future. Marissa sighed, her presence a balm to the tangled web of emotions unfurling in the room. She stepped forward, lending her support as if to say that we could carry our combined grief without losing ourselves. "Your pain doesn't define you, Ethan," she added softly, her voice echoing of empathy. "You are more than the shadows that lingered." As Ethan's eyes shimmered, I realized that this moment held the potential for healing beyond what I could have imagined. The storms we faced could amalgamate into a testament of resilience. I watched him search for something deeper, a reflection of the love we had built against insurmountable odds, and I knew, in my bones, that this moment was the pinnacle. "I am not asking you to be strong alone," I said, my heart full as I reached for Marissa's hand, bridging the gap between our past and present. We're stronger together. This is a new beginning for all of us. And then it happened, then blinked slowly, and the beautiful flicker of a smile pulled at the edge of his lips, igniting a blossoming warmth that spiraled through the heaviness. "Thank you," he breathed, the tremor of lightness threading its way through our entangled histories that I in the tangled web of our connected stories. There stood a fragile yet profound strength. Moments stitched together, hearts melding in vulnerability, and a newfound hope, the promise that together we could conquer the shadows that haunted us. The intermingling of lives, the intertwining pasts, and the will to embrace one another amidst all that we'd endured shifted the very core of our being. And as our hands grasped together, I found clarity nestled beneath layers of uncertainty, a bold proclamation that not only could love rise from loss, but it had the strength to overcome any darkness. I gazed into Ethan's eyes, clearer now, brighter, and brimming with renewed life. I whispered the final affirmation of our journey: we'll never lose each other again. In that moment, everything shattered and fell into place all at once, clarity flooding the space where doubt had once resided. With that, the world shifted beneath us, not as two individuals brought together by fate, but a raw and beautiful tapestry woven with resilience, acceptance, and love that had conquered the shadows of the past, emerging into the light of possibility once more.